I would like to call this meeting, the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen, to order for Monday, July 7th, 2025. Welcome, everyone. Could I please get a motion to go into executive session? Sarah moves that. Monica seconds. All in favor? Aye. We will be right back. Thank you for your patience. Why don't we, can I get a motion to return to regular session? Okay, Sarah moves. Marcy seconds. All in favor? Okay, terrific. Okay, thanks everyone for your patience. First Selectmen's report, a couple of things. One is on Wednesday, the 25th of June, I attended a Heights crossing event. So this is the new development that you see over at Heights Road and Hollow Tree Ridge, built by the Faros, John and his son Joe. Absolutely terrific event. It was right in the middle of the heat wave, and so we were all kind of outside, and I announced that it was the grand opening of the Darien sauna. But anyway, it was just for that one night. So it really is a terrific setup. I think you can already drive inside there, and I believe they're going to be opening up some of the restaurants and things they have planned within the next 30 to 60 days. So lots of progress there. It's a gorgeous place. I've done a couple of tours of their apartments that they've got over there, and it really is, they've really done a nice job with that. So congratulations to them. We have spoken with Ed Gentile, head of Public Works, about the timing for when Heights Road and Hollow Tree Ridge Road will get repaved, and the lights along Hollow Tree Ridge will be resequenced with new equipment. They've not scheduled that just yet, just because the work is not finished at Heights Crossing. So it's going to be important for all that to be finished before they schedule that work. I will have more clarity as to when that's going to happen at our next meeting after I've had a chance to get an update from Ed. He wasn't sure simply because the work at Heights Crossing is not quite finished, but that's teed up, and we will get to that at some point soon. In addition, I just want to thank former First Selectman Jamie Stevenson and former State Rep Terry Wood. They had the idea of creating a Declaration of Independence Day celebration to kick off our 4th of July parade and other things that we do. And it's an opportunity to read sections from the Declaration and to reflect on that with some guest speakers. The speaker this July 4th was a gentleman named Bob Patton. He was the grandson of former U.S. General George S. Patton from World War II. And it was really terrific to hear him talk about the Declaration and to give us his perspective. So a big thank you to Jamie and to Terry, to Heather Raker from the Mather Homestead, who was the MC, as well as everybody who participated, including the community band. Everybody did a really great job, and I appreciate that. Afterwards, we had the push-pull parade. Monica, I thank you for helping doing all the judging for the families and the kids who got all dressed up for this parade. Mm-hmm. I think they did a great job. That you created a special award that I just want to call out, which is great, which was Best Horse, and it was a little girl who was on a little horse that was all decorated. And it was the cutest thing ever. I mean, there's a long list of cute things, but this was really at the top of that list. But for all the families who show up for that and put on hats and really help celebrate the 4th and participate in that parade, God, that's a lot of fun. So thank you to everybody. Happy 4th of July. I hope you all enjoyed the weekend. It was great. Last thing I would say is that we signed the contract for Placer AI, which we've talked about before. What that is a company that provides anonymized cell phone location data. So, sorry about that. This also happened to be change your password day at Town Hall. So I apologize for that. So that was the last of my update, which was to provide some input on Placer AI. Next up is board liaison reports. So why don't we start off with Marcy?
So Mental Health Task Force has not met since our last update, but we are meeting next week on Tuesday. So I will be able to give an update at our next meeting.
Okay, terrific. Sarah?
My only update is for the Hinley Homes and Royal Building Committee. We had our meeting on the 25th, week before last, and things are going well. They're working very hard now that the kids are out of school for the summer. So they are every day you can see them over at the school. So change is happening. But other than that, things are going well. Our next meeting should be on July 16th.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Monica.
Well, we have a couple of things on the agenda for Great Island, but as far as 23A work goes, the contractor will begin installing the soil erosion control measures, including any silt fencing, tree protection, and silt sacks for the catch basins. And survey work will also begin, including layout and control for the road drainage and retaining walls. So during this time, the driveway will remain safe and passable, so residents will continue to have full access. Full construction is still anticipated to begin July 21st. And at that time, we'll go to the abbreviated hours. So during the week, the property will be open from 4 p.m. To dusk. And during the weekend, it'll be from dawn to dusk. And I'm sure the Department of Public Works will give us plenty of notice when that change is going to happen. As far as meetings go, Great Island Advisory Committee is meeting this Wednesday. It's a Zoom-only meeting, and we will be going over the draft of the master plan. And the meeting begins at 7 o'clock. So I hope everybody can join us. Thanks.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Next up is public comments. Jennifer, do we have anyone who would like to speak, or has anyone checked in with you about that?
We do. Alexis Sweet would like to speak.
Okay, Alexis, you are recognized for 3 minutes.
Okay, I hope you all can hear me. Alexis, Suite 20 Beverly Place. My comments tonight are again about the recent conversations around private events on Great Island, and specifically the town's apparent interest in allowing rentals for things like weddings and milestone celebrations. I listened to the Ask the First Selectman piece the other day on events, and what concerns me most isn't whether residents like or dislike the idea of private events. It's actually how the town is approaching the issue in the first place. Right now, it's being based on preference, what people want, rather than on principle and legal authority. I think we can all agree Great Island is a municipal parcel in an R1 residential zone, and we can all agree it's not designated parkland. As such, the kinds of uses being discussed, private revenue-generating events, may not even be allowed under current zoning. So instead of first clarifying whether these issues are even legal, the town appears to be shaping policy around resident interest and anecdotal demand. That may be politically expedient, but it's irresponsible, and it highlights a lack of integrity in the planning process. Public input definitely matters, but it can't and shouldn't override the law. Frankly, some of the recent justifications for private events have bordered on the absurd. The idea that a longtime Darien family might want their daughter married on Great Island, while evocative, isn't really a sound basis for public policy. It's in fact also quite ironic when many of the residents push back about the removal of the 15 mature trees along 23A. The town and its lawyers were quick to dismiss those concerns by arguing that since the property has only been publicly accessible for a short time, residents couldn't possibly have any significant attachment to it. I don't think you can have it both ways. So I urge the board, before any public event policy moves forward for private events, please take a step back and ensure that the town can clearly explain what the legal authority it's relying on to even consider private events. I know my family and my neighbors will vigorously advocate for what the majority of residents have expressed wanting, which is leaving Great Island as a peaceful refuge for passive recreation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. Is there anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will go to new business. But first up is to discuss and take action on a request to waive bidding requirements for elevator pit repairs at the police department. Jennifer.
We actually have the police department here for the next 2 items, so they will present them to you and be available for any questions you may have.
Okay, friends at the department, thanks for joining this evening. Over to you.
Good evening, board. Sharon, are you on?
I'm here.
All right, great. No, feel free to chime in, Sharon, if I miss anything. Just to give you guys a little backstory on the elevator, the issues we're experiencing. We had a state inspection, annual inspection that are done every year. I think it was the late last summer, and the inspector identified some water intrusion in the elevator pit. For those that don't know, elevator pit basically sits below our basement, it's underground. This type of area is susceptible to water intrusion. There is a sump pump. There was a sump pump working correctly down there. However, the sump pump failed and took on water, and as a result, it compromised some of the components down there. So some of the critical components consist of, you got piping, you got valves, buffer springs, stuff like that. So it's very, very crucial that these components get replaced. And we're looking at our current maintenance vendor, which is Schindler Elevator. They've been servicing our elevator at least for the last 5 to 6 years. They're very familiar with our setup here. They're actually willing to give us a substantial discount. This is about a $30,000 job. We got nearly 50% off. The funding has been approved for this fiscal year capital budget in the amount of $14,582, and they're willing to still honor that cost despite some increases in parts and labor. So we just think it's the best interest of the police department to have a no bid contract with Schindler and proceed with the repairs.
And if I could just add, in addition to being our current vendor for the elevator, they have a lot of knowledge about the elevator and its recent inspections, etc., and safety protocols. So we have confidence that they can safely execute this work, given their knowledge of both the importance of the police department as well as the elevator itself.
Sharon, we appreciate you helping out and doing all that you're doing at the department. I think I can speak for the captain and others that it's great to have someone with your capability on your board. So thank you. Obviously, Schindler is a pretty well-known name in the elevator business, and given their familiarity with the equipment, I certainly don't have an issue with waiving the bid request for all this. Any questions for the captain or Sharon or anyone else? Tim?
John, I just have 2 quick ones.
Sure.
So the sump pump, has that been repaired?
Yes. When it failed, DPW did come last year and did replace it. So
Okay, and then what?
Pump in there.
Okay, and when do you anticipate this repair taking place?
We'd like to do it ASAP. We have the funding approved and we want to get it done as soon as we can.
So the next couple of weeks.
So as soon as we can schedule it, this impacts the ability to use the elevator safely. So we will do it as quickly as we can. So as soon as if approvals is given from this board, we will reach out to Schindler, who, as Captain Andrews said, we have a proposal, we have everything ready to go, we have approval for the funds. So it was just getting this approval as a no bid project.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Other questions? Okay, like I said, this seems reasonable to me. Could I get a motion to approve the request to waive bidding requirements for the elevator pit repairs? Sarah moves, Monica seconds, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Next up is to discuss and take action on a request to waive bidding requirements for vehicle upfitting. Captain.
Yes. So just so you guys are aware, the process when we do our vehicle replacements, we purchase the vehicles through a Ford dealership. Ford doesn't do the upfitting. At this point, we take possession of the vehicle and then we have to use a separate vendor for all the vehicle upfitting. There's a tremendous amount of pieces of equipment that are part of the upfitting. Just to name a few: emergency lighting sirens, overhead lights, grill mounted lights, rear warning lights, a variety of mounting brackets, push bumpers, not to mention all the graphics, reflective markings that you see on the vehicles. All the electronic components, especially with our evolving technology and the more equipment we have inside. We currently use Specialty Warning Systems out of Danbury. We've been with them for approximately 15 years. We like to remain. We keep them as our vendor. They have proven to do excellent work. They have a great track record. They're extremely responsive. And any issues with post installations, there's usually a quick turnaround. So we feel, again, it's serve the best interest of the department if we could get a bid waiver for that. We do have the money set aside, again, approved in our capital budget. We have 4 vehicles that are up for replacement. The prices vary depending on the vehicle. So for instance, our patrol vehicles are probably the more costly ones. They require a little bit more equipment, a little bit more upfitting, whereas an admin vehicle, an unmarked vehicle isn't going to cost as much. So they're looking at anywhere between 16,000.
In that range.
Yeah. And this right here is Dylan Cairo. He's our fleet mechanic. So he's the one who personally deals with specialty work.
Okay, I guess the only question for me is, are there other companies that do this kind of work that are used by other departments in our area? Or are these guys pretty much the ones that other departments use as well?
I would say a good amount. The smaller towns are using specialty. Yeah, the fleet up in New Haven is more larger cities and state police.
So most of the specialty is a smaller family type shop, if you want to call it that. They do a lot of smaller Westchester departments, smaller departments such as Newtown, things like places like that. As far as there's a place in New Haven that does this upfitting, but they do departments such as Norwalk, who's ordering 20, 30 cars at once. You know, they're trying to get them out of the way, especially they do New Haven also. So they're, you know, we're only doing a certain amount of cars every year. So we'd be at the bottom of the list as far as that. Specialties cranking car, they're doing a patrol car in about 2 weeks for us, which is pretty unheard of as far as for upfitting. As the Fleet Auto Supply in New Haven, you know, it could take up to, or, you know, if we're only doing 2 cars, we could probably not see the car for 6 to 8 months.
So you get very good service from these guys.
We're getting a very good turnaround from them, yes.
Okay. Questions for these gentlemen?
No.
Sarah?
Just out of curiosity, I see that the cost runs 10 to 16 per car. I don't remember offhand how many were in the budget for next year. How many cars would you like to have them do for you?
We have 4. We have 2 marked patrol units, an admin vehicle, and our utility pickup.
Okay.
Got it. Other questions? Okay, seeing none, got to get a motion to approve the request to waive bidding requirements for vehicle upfitting for the department. Okay, Monica moves, Marcy seconds, all in favor? Okay, great. All right. Perfect. Next item for new business, discuss and take action on an appropriation not to exceed $100,000 for the purchase of Great Island Early Access Furnishings. Monica.
So thanks, John. This is one of our first visible on the ground improvements that we're recommending for Great Island. The Great Island Advisory Committee voted unanimously in support of this. We will be bringing furnishings to the property that will allow people to use it in a simple, welcoming, and low impact way. So this was in the packet for everybody, and we worked with Reed Hildebrand to narrow down the options. So if you go to the next page, I thought we could go kind of quickly through. So on the far right, you'll see the Adirondack chairs. We are proposing 14 of these. It's made out of HDPE. It's a durable, weather-resistant material commonly used in outdoor furniture. Each chair weighs about 46 pounds, requires no maintenance, and has been successfully used by Reed Hildebrand in other public spaces, including Longwood Gardens that they worked on. Then you will see the bistro table. There are 10 bistro tables paired with 34 chairs from Landscape Forms Park Center collection. The chairs, half of the chairs have arms and half do not have arms. They weigh between 22 and 25 pounds. And the tables, those bistro tables, are about 94 pounds. So these are durable steel pieces with a clean, simple design that'll be placed thoughtfully throughout the site. We also have, you'll see a picnic table there. There are 6 picnic tables proposed. They have benches, 2 benches per each. They're made by Kenneth Lynch and Sons out of Oxford, Connecticut. These are modeled after the 1939 World's Fair design that's used in Central Park. And the bench that you're seeing there isn't quite accurate. The one that we're proposing has a slight seat, and the bench weighs about 180 pounds and the table weighs about 500 pounds. And then there are 4 standalone 8-foot benches that are also by Kenneth Lynch and Sons out of Oxford. And each one of those weighs about 250, 260 pounds. So all pieces were reviewed with accessibility in mind. Several of the picnic tables will meet ADA requirements. And I want to just say that I had the chance to visit Kenneth Lynch in Oxford a couple of weeks ago, and seeing where these pieces was made was really incredibly helpful. The quality really stood out. So the goal here is to make the island feel more welcoming in a way that's simple, classic, and true to the character of the place. The furniture was selected with the help of Reed Hildebrand, who provided a range of options and helped guide us into the pieces that are well suited for the coastal environment. And they also advised us on locations where furnishings would have the benefit and least disruption to the landscape. So we also spoke with Ed Gentile and Tony Campanella, who both emphasized the need for pieces that are solid and not likely to be easily blown over or moved. So that practical guidance helped shape the final selection, which is one of the reasons I gave you the weight there. So the intent is very clear on this. This furniture is simply for residents and visitors to take a break, to sit and enjoy the view, meet a friend, rest in the shade. That's it. Even though it says bistro, and I can see how that would be a little confusing, we are not opening a cafe or a bistro or launching any type of food or beverage service. These are just quality benches, tables, and chairs that'll be placed thoughtfully around the island to support peaceful passive use. So the Great Island Committee voted unanimously to recommend this furnishings package. And I want to also thank the RTM for taking this up at their June meeting. They helped keep this effort on track for this season. And the next step is to review a review by the Board of Finance on July 15th. So Jen, could you flip to the map page? So these are proposed locations. So I can't see really clearly, but the pink are the benches, the green are the Adirondack chairs, and the purple are the bistro tables and chairs. So you'll see there are a couple that are down by the pink house, the bistro tables, and then some Adirondack chairs down there, and then 6 picnic tables spread around. And I'm really happy to say that Reed Hildebrand worked really hard on negotiations as far as pricing goes. And so we were able to get some significant discounts. And the total package for this is approximately $84,000. If you want to go to that sheet, Jen, we can take a look at the prices. Yep, there they are. So any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for this, Monica. I know you actually took a personal trip up to see this furniture in person, right? You got to sit on it, see it, touch it, and speak to the vendors. So I appreciate you doing all that and taking that extra step. I think it gave all of us a lot of comfort, and I know you particularly, that this stuff really does look great. And can you confirm that it does look great?
Oh, it's where, you know what, it is absolutely beautiful. I mean, you can go to Central Park and you can see it, but trust me, it's going to look better on Great Island. And I have to say that this bench, I personally wasn't quite sure, but sitting on it, there's a lot to be said for seeing things firsthand. So I'm really excited for our residents. I think, assuming that the Board of Selectmen approves this and the Board of Finance approves this, we're looking at about an 8-week delivery time for this. So we're hoping that we'll get this set up for our residents by the end of the summer. So.
Terrific. Questions for Monica?
Hi, Monica. Thank you for going through all of the pieces and particularly showing everyone the map. I know I had some concerns about putting all the tables and chairs together. And I appreciate you showing me on the map where everything is going, because I want everyone to understand that these are all not going in one space and that they're being spread out around the island so everyone can have an opportunity to enjoy them wherever they are. I think the only question I had was regarding a cost. So we were approving it up to 100,000, but the bid is for 84,000. Where do you see the concern for the differential?
You know what? We had an appropriation for up to 100,000. And again, I really want to give a special thank you to the RTM for taking this up in June. At that time, we didn't have firm numbers on the pieces, and we had gotten a discount on the bench, and we were looking to see what we could work out on the picnic table. So these numbers are, I think they're very good, but again, they're subject to, as soon as we need to place the order, right? But I think that this total is a good number to work with.
Thank you.
Other questions for Monica? Marcy?
No, I just want to certainly thank you for making this a priority. I know how important it is when you're out there and you're walking and you just want to sit and kind of observe you are. I know the residents are going to definitely love this furniture. And also want to say thank you for, choosing a Connecticut business to work with, because, it's important that we try to support our local businesses. And although they're not here in Darien, they are part of our Connecticut community. So I appreciate that. And they are beautiful. So thank you for all your hard work and research on this.
This company is, it was the grandfather. I met the granddaughter who now runs the company. You would love her, Marcy. And but the grandfather actually worked with Robert Moses designing for Central Park. So the company's been in Connecticut for a really long time.
And what a great tie in history that is with the architect of the stable, and just kind of bringing all this sort of Connecticut, sort of New York City work into Darien. So thank you for that.
Terrific. Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you for that great effort. Could I get a motion to approve the appropriation not to exceed $100,000 for the purchase of Great Island early access furnishings as described today? Monica moves that. Marcy seconds. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Thank you again, Monica. It's terrific. Next item up, discuss and take action on creation of a Great Island merchandise website and product offering. Monica.
Okay. Well, here's another initiative just to kind of get our community excited and involved. This was a recommendation from a unanimous, recommendation from the advisory committee regarding a launch of a small online merchandise shop for Great Island. And the idea is it's simple. It's to just build some good feeling and some community spirit as we move through the early public access and planning process. So the shop will have, it's a small quantity. We're going to have a hat, we're going to have a long sleeve t-shirt, a short sleeve t-shirt, and a couple of polo shirts, men's, women's, different designs for Great Island. And all proceeds will go directly towards a Great Island Fund for work related to it. I want to thank Kip VC. I want to thank Bruce Ferguson, but I really want to thank Kip VC for all his work on getting this and, getting it off the ground. We're starting with a small number of items and we'll see how it goes. But we've seen the material, we've seen samples in person, and I personally think John would look really good in one of the polo shirts, just throwing that out there. So The site is, you can look at the site right now. It's shopcampuscustoms.com/Great Island underscore, I'm sorry, underscored between Great and Island underscore shop, and then /shop/home. I know it's a little, it's a lot. We're going to work on
Why
that.
are we sending that around in the newsletter?
I know. But as soon as we get approval, we'll publish that site. And I think that we'll be able to, I think that you'll be able to place your Christmas orders in July. And hopefully you'll not wait till Christmas to hand them out. So any questions?
You answered my question is when they would be available. So, I mean, it's hard to imagine I would look even more handsome with one of these shirts, but we'll certainly run that experiment.
Yeah. So it's,
Sarah.
oh, go ahead, Sarah.
No, I guess I had no idea this was happening, and I'm just curious because we haven't really done this with any of the other kind of parks. We've only kind of done holistic merchandise. I've seen over, for Darien, 06820, but not really anything for like any of the other parks individually. What was the idea behind doing this?
Oh, you know what? It's a way to generate some excitement and some interest. I think I actually thought first about hats, but then the committee took another look and said, we can do a little bit more than that. There will be a hat on site, but offering a little bit more as far as alternatives go. I will say though, I just want to throw this out there that this is the items are priced between $25 and $85. So we tried to hit it where everybody would be comfortable. And there's no inventory risk. Everything is made to order, and either party can end the relationship with a 30-day notice. So really low risk for us. And hopefully it works out.
Perfect. Other questions? Okay, could I get a motion to approve the creation of a Great Island merchandise website and product offering as described? Monica moves, Marcy seconds, all in favor? Great, okay. Thank you again, Monica, really, really terrific, and thanks to the whole committee for this. This will be a lot of fun. Okay, 2 items for old business. First up is to discuss and take action on the redesigned town flag. So the reason for this is that you'll recall back in May, we put up our mock-up of that flag here at Town Hall. And since then, we've had a number of things. We've had Jim Cameron did an interview about the flag of both me and Harris Cabana, who led the redesign effort. We also had a News 12 interview where News 12 came and again interviewed us both, but also actually interviewed some people outside of Town Hall who happened to see the new flag flying, and they were, well, very supportive of it and liked it a lot. I've talked to about probably a couple of dozen people about it since then to try to get their sense of things, and I've gotten unanimous support. Everybody likes it, especially once they saw it up on a flagpole. One comment I did get was maybe some of the colors could be a little bit darker, but we can play around with that when we put out a bid for the permanent flags, but I think it looks great. And I wanted to test whether you guys would be okay if we went in and made that the official flag for the town. Harris Cabana is actually on the line tonight. I'll have him talk a little bit about the process just a bit, but the purpose of this discussion is just to see where everybody is on all that. I really like the new design. As has been mentioned before, we're not going to be changing the town emblem or the symbol that you see on pins and business cards, places like that, just the flag right now. So Harris, are you on? Can you turn your camera on?
Yep.
Hi, Harris. How are you?
Hi. Thank you, John.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you guys so much for giving me the time of day. I mean, this is my 3rd time presenting in front of you guys, so I'm sure you've seen enough of me, so I appreciate it. And just to kind of reiterate what John was saying, I mean, I think that since we've tested the flag outside the town hall, it's been all positive. I mean, as far as I can tell, and I like the design. I think it's a good design. I mean, the process has taught me so much, and no matter what result comes out today, I mean, it's an invaluable experience. So I appreciate you guys giving me the time of day.
Good deal. Questions for Harris? Any comments?
I love
have-
it. Sorry.
ahead, Sarah.
No,
Yeah, go
I
ahead,
just was going to say I love it. Go ahead, Monica.
Now, Harris, I just was, I know you did some surveys, and did you go back out and reach another group, or were you happy with the results?
Yeah, so we did 2 surveys and both, I think, combined 1,700 responses. And between the 2 surveys, I mean, we just got the same, we were kind of getting the same results, and we thought that a 3rd survey would kind of just would just yield the same results as the other 2. So we pivoted to, as you know, flying the flag outside town hall. And I think people being able to see the flag in real life and not just on a computer screen yielded more positive results than the surveys did. So I think it was a good decision.
I would just say that I really like the design. I might be in the camp that I think a little higher contrast might be something to at least take a little peek at. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm open to playing around with the colors. I definitely think that there's value in that.
Yeah, keep in mind that the flag that we put up there was a rush job and a quick mock-up. It's not the same company that we use for producing the other town flag, as well as our, anything else we do that's a custom design. So if we go back to that company, we may actually get a higher contrast result by just having the flag produced through our regular channel. So not to worry.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Harris.
So yeah, great work. And you know what, Harris, I want to congratulate you on your patience through this process. Change is hard, and to try to get an entire community on board to adapt to something that's different from what we've been used to. You really did a great job being patient and really talking to the community, getting ideas out there, doing your surveys. So huge props to you as a young student who's trying to learn and navigate town policy and politics, and coming up with an idea and being steadfast and getting information and coming up with new designs and giving a community what they really were interested in and enjoying. So well done for you. Big time.
Thank you. I've definitely learned a lot about government and change and publicity and public relations, all that stuff. So great experience.
Good for you. I'm glad that we could have supported you through this.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote. Could I get a motion to change the flag for the town of Darien to the design that Harris Cavana has presented? Okay, Marcy moves, Sarah seconds, all in favor? Unanimous. Harris, congratulations, you did it.
Nice. Thank you.
Really great. All right. Well, thank you again for all your work on all this. Really, really terrific job. And I think the result speaks for itself, and it's thanks to you. Terrific. Well done, Harris.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to our next item for old business. Discuss and finalize Cherry Lawn information request. You'll recall from previous meetings, this was I think a very good idea that Sarah had, which was to kind of advance our knowledge about things like programming on our parks and maybe a bit more. Another person who's actually on the line is Jenny Schwartz from the Board of Finance. She's also done some exceptional work in helping us inventory our parks and assist the Parks and Rec Commission, as well as Jen Fava, on that topic. So why don't I hand it over to Sarah? We're not quite finished with this, as I understand it, but maybe you or even Jenny, if she wants to speak, could talk a little bit about what's next and what you'd like to do to finalize things.
Sure. Thank you very much. And I'll invite Jen to speak also if she can. What I sent an email to you, John, earlier today. Would love to set up a meeting with myself and Jenny Schwartz, hopefully with Jen Fava and Jen Charneski, the Jens and the Jennies, with you, and to sit down and go through what we're looking for is a listing of the programming. We're going to look specifically right now at Cherry Lawn, which seems to be the issues with the traffic and the concerns there. Want to look at Parks and Rec, but we also want to look at those partners for baseball, soccer, and any of the nature center programs. We're going to see if there's some particular programs that may be pressing the traffic buttons more than others, and see maybe what we can do about it. See if there's a possibility to shift some programming into some spaces that may allow some ease of traffic. And but we want to understand and have that field use study. We want to look and work with the Board of Ed and look at our fields and make sure that we have a really good understanding of what fields are in use, what fields are not in use. And we've been talking about doing that field use study for quite some time, particularly on the Board of Ed side. So I'd really love to see if we to do that. And we want to talk slightly about the economics, see what are we making on these programs and what kind of a wait list do we have. Jen, would you like to jump in, Jenny? I don't know.
Listening, but maybe not super close.
She is. I'm wondering if, and I'll text her. I don't know.
Drop her a text if she wants to chime in. I think that's the right list. And I think sitting down with Jennifer and Jen and going through that and having some iteration with them, it might actually even help further refine that list. So I think this is a good start, and we'll definitely try to get that discussion set up as soon as possible. Monica, Marcy, any comments from you?
No comment. I think it's a good start. Certainly, I think understanding what the programming is that is at Cherry Lawn, what works with the traffic is a very beginning. But I do think that certainly we're going to have to put a traffic study together there when we really have a good understanding of what's happening in that park and make a redesign sooner rather than later. Because it is a park that definitely I think is very, very busy and is concerning.
Hi, I'm on. It's Jenny Schwartz. Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting for some strange reason. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, Jenny, thank you for joining.
Yeah, no, I think, starting, there's kind of a two-step process here. Since we're talking about Cherry Lawn, I'd love to work with Sarah and Jen Fava and all the other people involved on Parks and Rec. The first step is to look at Cherry Lawn, and as Sarah says, parking seems to be a symptom. Let's get to the problem, and if it's a programming and a scheduling problem, are there other places we can look? And that's where to either move programming or eliminate programming. How much money are we really making on some of this programming that we're having? Is it worth it to create the traffic issues? And I helped create a kind of a master spreadsheet, trying to take an inventory of everything we have at the different parks. But also I want to get a sense of what happens at the Board of Ed properties and other town-related assets, because I do think, looking at a high level, there might be ways to reallocate and shift and some of the programming if it works. And I also, I think once we sit down with Jen Fava, we'll get a better sense of that, because I would hate, when we're talking about a traffic study, we're talking about $50,000, which begets a bigger project. Like, you don't do a traffic study unless you're really thinking about doing a kind of a major capital project. So before we entertain that, let's make sure we're not going to solve. We want to solve problems, not symptoms. So yeah, happy to get together with Sarah and Jen Fava and sit down and see if we can't solve that problem first. And then it'll lead to a bigger analysis and hopefully a lot more information that we can gather. So it just helps us make decisions on, and hopefully it'll help the Board of Selectmen make a decision on what's the vision across all the different town assets on what goes in the different parks. What do you guys want to see there? Like, in talking about Great Island, and you guys approved the tables and chairs, I got a sense of a clear vision of the type of seating you're putting there. Even though you have way more activity at Cherry Lawn, but you have way less seating, you're going for a different vibe at Great Island. So that makes sense. And that makes it easier for, certainly for me on the Board of Finance, and hopefully people on the RTM, to understand what your vision is. And that's the point of this exercise of developing sort of inventory for a bigger open space strategy. So yeah, happy to work with Sarah on this.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the two of you collaborating on this, and another couple turns of the crank, and I think that'll catalyze some inquiry and analysis before we get to the traffic study. This is going to be very helpful. So Sarah, I really appreciate the idea. It's a good one. Comments or questions for Sarah or Jenny?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to understand. This started off as, taking a look at Cherry Lawn, but it sounds to me as if it's going to end up being kind of a deep dive on all of our properties and programs. Is that a good assessment?
So I think it's not a bad question. I think that was kind of the first start, right? But when you have such a huge picture, you have to kind of distill it down. We're looking really right now, focusing on Cherry Lawn because that seems to be where the main traffic issue arises. But as a part of that, while we're doing this look into it, I want to make sure that we do take into account if we're trying to alleviate some of the programs and things that are causing traffic at Cherry Lawn at particular times. What are the other fields that maybe we could use? So we do need to do that field study, not trying to do a deep dive and overanalyze anything. But I do think if the main traffic concern is Cherry Lawn, that's where we want to focus.
And I would add that it's kind of an iterative process, because what the trap is to get siloed in thinking in one property at a time. So when you're looking at designing something or doing something at Cherry Lawn, what you do at Cherry Lawn will have an impact somewhere else, right? Or what you do at Weed Beach or what you do at Pear Tree. And I think the point here is you want to be able to look at your allocation of capital and the impact it has when you allocate capital in one area. How is that impacting other areas? You don't want to be duplicating multiple projects, right? You don't want to have this, you don't want to have every town piece of property maximized, right? So when you're saying we need walking trails, well, we need walking trails at this property. Well, we have X amount of walking trails scattered across other properties. How much more do we need? So I think it's important to think about what you do at Cherry Lawn or any other town property has an impact, and it's kind of an iterative process. So I can't just answer, it's hard for me to say, just answering one problem at Cherry Lawn when I don't take into account what's happening at the other town properties. Like, I think it ends up it does become a bigger project. So I think that's kind of the point. You start at Cherry Lawn and then you build out like, well, how much seating do we have? How many pickleball courts do we have? How many tennis courts and soccer fields and athletic fields do we have? And then all of a sudden you realize you've got a lot spread out across the town. So that makes you say, well, do I really need to do this here when I have that in 3 other places? That's kind of the exercise.
Perfect. Okay. Other questions? Okay. So more to come on that. Again, thank you both for that. I appreciate it. We've got some appointments to make tonight. All right. First one is the reappointment of a member to the Police Commission. May I have a motion to reappoint Brent Hayes to the Police Commission for a term expiring on June 30th, 2028. Monica moves. Sarah seconds. All in favor? Terrific. Just my personal comment on Brent. I know he's re-upping for the Police Commission, and he has really unanimous support, not just outside this board, but by a number of folks that I've spoken with. He is a consummate professional in his role, and I know is appreciated by many, not just in town, but at the police department itself. So thank you, Brent, for all that you do and your willingness to continue in this important capacity. We appreciate it. We also have some reappointments to do for the Zoning Board of Appeals. May I have a motion to reappoint Barbara Hazelton to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term expiring June 30th, 2027. Okay, Monica moves, Marcy seconds, all in favor? Great. I have a motion to reappoint Matthew Lauria to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term expiring June 30th, 2028. Okay, Sarah moves, Marcy seconds, all in favor. Okay, great. And could I have a motion to reappoint Gary Green as an alternate to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term expiring June 30th, 2026? Okay, Marcy moves, Sarah seconds. Okay. All three of these individuals, Barb, Matthew, and Gary, have served for a long time, particularly Gary, I think now more than 20 years, and he has agreed to help us through next June with some transition on the ZBA, and I really appreciate the service of all three of those individuals. Fortunately, we have two new members joining the board to help them get it back up to full complement, both of whom we interviewed tonight in executive session. Could I have a motion to appoint Randy Tankus as an alternate to the ZBA for a term expiring June 30th, 2028? Okay, Monica moves, Marcy seconds, all in favor. And finally, can I get a motion to approve Matthew Dyson to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term expiring June 30th, 2026? Okay, Marcy moves, Sarah seconds, all in favor. Great. Okay. Next up are minutes for the June 23rd, 2025 regular meeting. I had a chance to read through these and give comments to Linda. They look good to me. Any comments or edits to these minutes? Okay, could I get a motion to approve the minutes of the June 23rd regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen? Okay, Marcy moves, Sarah seconds, all in favor. Okay, great. Agenda review. So I gave a little bit of background on Groton Heights development. What I will do is come back with some dates as to when that paving and the signal work might take place and get finished. Was there anything else anybody wanted to hear on the Groton Heights development? Okay, I'll do that. Yard signs and policy and enforcement. We'll have Ed come by and do that at either the July 21st meeting or sometime in August. He was not available before to do that. The left turn lane at Apollo Tree and Heights Crossing, that's all part of the Groton Heights development update, so I'll include that in there. And then I will have an update at the next meeting on the Roden Avenue and Ledge Road. So that's where we are. Anything to add for agenda review? Anybody have any topics? Okay. That's it. Our next meetings, we've got our Zoom meeting for Monday, July 21st. That'll be a regular Board of Selectmen meeting. And then just please make sure your calendars are marked for our joint department heads meeting on the morning of July 22nd, the next day at 8:30 a.m. in room 206. That meeting's in person. I think that's all we have for this evening. Anybody else have anything else? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn? Okay, Sarah moves, Marcy seconds, all in favor. We stand adjourned. Thank you, friends.
Good night, everyone.